Good afternoon. Welcome to our Good Friday worship. Just a few announcements as we get started. We invite you to return tomorrow for our Easter Vigil, which will be at 5 p.m., or our Easter celebrations on Sunday morning. We have a sunrise service at 7, 8:15, a 9:30 service, and then our parking lot worship will be happening at 11. There are limited seating at the indoor worship services, so please sign up online. At the end of the service this evening, this afternoon, we will invite you to depart in silence. This is a worship in which we remember that our God not only dared to become human and live amongst us, but experienced all of the human experience. There are 7 movements in our worship service, and after each movement, there will be a reflection of some sort, be it a devotion or a song that invites us into that experience that Jesus had on the cross and in his crucifixion. And we are invited to remember today that there is nothing that God doesn't know. No suffering or pain that we go through, God has been there, and it is in great love that God died for us. I'm going to invite you to stand as we begin our worship singing Go to Dark Gethsemane.
Go to dark Gethsemane, all who feel the tempter's power. Your Redeemer's conflict see, watch with him one bitter hour. Turn not from his griefs away, learn from Jesus Christ to pray. Follow to the judgment hall, view the Lord of life arraign. Oh, the wormwood and the gall, oh, the pangs his soul sustained. Shun not suffering, shame, or loss, learn from him to bear the cross. Calvary's mournful mountain climb, there adoring at his feet, mark that miracle of time, God's own sacrifice complete. It is finished, hear him cry, learn from Jesus Christ to die.
Our first reading today is from Luke chapter 22, verses 1 through 5. You may be seated. Now the festival of unleavened bread, which is called the Passover, was near. The chief priests and scribes were looking for a way to put Jesus to death, for they were afraid of the people. Then Satan entered into Judas, called Iscariot, who was one of the 12. He went away and conferred with the chief priests and officers of the temple police about how he might betray him to them. They were greatly pleased and agreed to give him money. A reflection on betrayal from Frederick Buechner. The soldiers are there with their swords and lanterns. The high priest's slave is whimpering over his wounded ear. There can be no doubt in Jesus' mind what the kiss of Judas meant. But it is Judas that he is blessing, and Judas that he is preparing to go out and die for now. Judas is only the first in a procession of betrayers 2,000 years long. If Jesus were to exclude him from his love and forgiveness to one degree or another, he would have to exclude humankind. Maybe this is all in the mind of Jesus as he stands there with his eyes closed. Or possibly there is nothing in his mind at all, as he feels his friend's lips graze his cheek. For an instant, maybe he feels nothing else. It is another of his last times. On this last evening of his life, he has eaten his last meal, and this is the last time that he will ever feel the touch of another human being except in torment. It is not the Lamb of God and his butcher who meet here, but two old friends embracing in a garden because both of them know that they will never see one another again.
Our reading is from Psalm 31, verses 9 through 14. Be merciful to me, Lord, for I am in distress. My eyes grow weak with sorrow, my soul and body with grief. My life is consumed by anguish, and my years by groaning. My strength fails because of my affliction, and my bones grow weak. Because of all my enemies, I am the utter contempt of my neighbors, and an object of dread to my closest friends. Those who see me on the street flee from me. I am forgotten as though I were dead. I have become like broken pottery, for I hear many whispering terror on every side. They conspire against me and plot to take my life. But I trust in you, Lord. I say, you are my God.
Slave has sinned, then
gospel continues in Luke 22. He came out and went, as was his custom, to the Mount of Olives, and the disciples followed him. When he reached the place, he said to them, "Pray that you may not come into the time of trial." Then he withdrew from them about a stone's throw, knelt down and prayed, "Father, if you are willing, remove this cup from me. Yet not my will, but yours be done." Then an angel from heaven appeared to him and gave him strength. In his anguish he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat became like great drops of blood falling down on the ground. When he got up from prayer, he came to his disciples and found them sleeping because of grief. And he said to them, "Why are you sleeping? Get up and pray that you may not come into the time of trial."
I'm forgiven because you were forsaken. I'm accepted, you were condemned. I'm alive when your spirit is within me, because you died and rose again. Amazing love, how can it be that you, my King, would die for me? Amazing love, I know it's true. It's my joy to honor you. In all I do, I honor you. I'm forgiven because you were forsaken. I'm accepted, you were condemned. I'm alive and well, your spirit is within me, because you died and rose again. Amazing love, how can it be that you, my King, would die for me? Amazing love, I know it's true. It's my joy to honor you. In all I do, I honor you. You are my King. You are my King. Jesus, you are my King. Jesus, you are my King. Amazing love, how can it be that you, my King, would die for me? Amazing love, I know it's true. It's my joy to honor you. In all I do, I honor you.
This reading comes from Luke chapter 23, verses 1 through 5 and 13 through 25. Then the assembly rose as a body and brought Jesus before Pilate. They began to accuse him, saying, "We found this man perverting our nation, forbidding us to pay taxes to the emperor, and saying that he himself is the Messiah, a king. Then Pilate asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" He answered, "You say so." Then Pilate said to the chief priests and the crowds, "I find no basis for an accusation against this man." But they were insistent and said, "He stirs up the people by teaching throughout all Judea, from Galilee where he began, even to this place." Pilate then pulled together all of the chief priests, the leaders, and the people, and said to them, "You brought me this man as one who was perverting the people, and here I have examined him in your presence, and have not found this man guilty of any of your charges against him. Neither has Herod, for he sent him back to us. Indeed, he has done nothing to deserve death. I will therefore have him flogged and release him." Then they all shouted together, "Away with this fellow! Release Barabbas for us!" This was a man who had been put in prison for an insurrection that had taken place in the city, and for murder. Pilate, wanting to release Jesus, addressed them again, but they kept shouting, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" A third time he said to them, "Why? What evil has he done? I have found in him no ground for the sentence of death. I will therefore have him flogged and then release him." But they kept urgently demanding with loud shouts that he should be crucified, and their voices prevailed. So Pilate gave his verdict that their demand should be granted. He released the man they asked for, the one who has been put in prison for insurrection and murder, and handed Jesus over as they wished.
O sacred head now wounded, with grief and shame weighed down, how scornfully surrounded, with thorns thine only crown. O sacred head, what glory, what bliss till now was thine. Yet though despised and gory, I joy to call thee mine. How art thou pale with anguish, with sore abuse and scorn,
reading from Isaiah chapter 53. Who has believed our message, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? He grew up before him like a tender shoot and like a root out of dry ground. He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him, nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain. Like one from whom people hide their faces, he was despised, and we held him in low esteem. Surely he took up our pain and bore our suffering, yet we considered him punished by God, stricken by him and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed.
I cast my mind to Calvary, where Jesus bled and died for me. I see his wounds, his hands, his feet, my Savior on that cursed tree. Oh, praise the name of the Lord our God. Oh, praise his name forevermore. For endless days I will sing your praise, O Lord, our God. His body bound and drenched in tears, they laid him down in Joseph's tomb, the entrance sealed by heavy stone, Messiah still and all alone. Oh, praise the name of the Lord our God. Oh, praise his name forevermore. For endless days we will sing your praise, O Lord, our God.
When they came to the place that is called the Skull, they crucified Jesus there with the criminals, one on his right and one on his left. Then Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." And they cast lots to divide his clothing, and the people stood by watching, but the leader scoffed at him, saying, "He saved others, let him save himself. If he is the Messiah of God, his chosen one." The soldiers also mocked him, coming up and offering him sour wine and saying, "If you are the king of the Jews, save yourself." There was also an inscription over him, "This is the King of the Jews." One of the criminals who were hanged there kept deriding him and saying, "Are you not the Messiah? Save yourself and us." But the other rebuked him, saying, "Do you not fear God, since you are under the same sentence of condemnation? And we indeed have been condemned justly, for we are getting what we deserve for our deeds, but this man has done nothing wrong." Then he said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." And Jesus replied, "Truly I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise." A reflection on crucifixion by Nadia Bolz-Weber. From his rough-hewn throne of a cross, Christ the King looks at the world, and no one escapes his judgment. Those who betray him, those who execute him, those who love him, and those who ignore him. He judges us all. From the cross, the pronouncement is made, and the judgment is final, and that judgment is forgiveness. "Forgive them, Father, for they do not know what they are doing," is an internally valid statement. From his cross, Christ loves the betrayer, the violent, the God-killer in all of us, and despite our protests, he will not lift a finger to condemn those who put him there. Because it is finally only a God unlike us, a God who enters our human existence and suffers insults with only love and forgiveness, who can save us from ourselves. And I would contend that through the cross, that we know that God isn't standing smugly at a distance, but that God's abundant grace is hiding in, with, and under all this broken crap in the world around us. God is present with us in all of it. And while the suffering and death of Jesus Christ on the cross is not about you, it is certainly for you. In fact, God is so for you that there is no place that God will not go to be with you. Nothing separates you from the love of God in Jesus, not insults, not betrayal, not suffering, and, as we shall see at Easter, not even death itself.
For our final segment, we read from Luke chapter 23, verses 44 through 46. It was now about noon, and darkness came over the whole land until 3 p.m, for the sun stopped shining. And the curtain of the temple was torn in two. Jesus called out with a loud voice, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." When he had said this, he breathed his last.
Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they nailed him to the cross? Were you there when they nailed him to the cross? Sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they nailed him to the cross? Were you there? Were you there when they laid him in the tomb? Were you there when they laid him in the tomb? Sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they laid him in